Hi, friends, and welcome back. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about something that is probably going to come off as a little bit controversial to most people, but I'm going to ask you to extend me a little grace. And I'm going to ask that you come to this particular podcast with an open mind and an open heart and allow this information to kind of just sink in a little bit. And after you've sat with it for a while, if you decide that it's not for you, then it's not for you. And I'm definitely okay with that. But sometimes, as human beings, our first reaction is to deny or refuse information that is contradictory to what we've already been taught or that is contradictory to what we believe. And so that can be a human flaw in that we will oftentimes block new information simply because it's something that is foreign or it is new. So I'm going to ask that you suspend that particular part of your humanness for today and just allow this information to sink in and let it settle. Maybe chew on it for a day or so and meditate on it and ask your higher mind, your consciousness, if there's any truth to it. And if it's not, then hey, toss it out, you know? If it's not for you, then it's not for you, and that is okay. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, today I'm going to actually be talking about this concept of sin and what was really intended when this particular philosophy kind of birthed into the world, birthed into the consciousness that we know as human beings. I'm going to talk a little bit about where it came from and even how it's accurate, but it's kind of off a little bit, if you will allow me to explain that. It's not that I'm saying that we should not pay attention to the concept of sin. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's a little bit off. And so let me just kind of go down this path. And I hope you'll come along with me. And maybe you'll come away with some new insights or some new conclusions about this concept of sin. Okay. We live in a world that is vibratory in nature. So, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, that's nothing that's foreign to you. But if you haven't, let me just explain a little bit just to kind of catch you up to where most of us are with this particular concept. We are energy. Everything that you see around you is energy. If you get a high powered microscope and look at your table, it's moving. There's protons and electrons and molecules. All kinds of things are moving to make that table what it is. Now, our eye is not trained to see that, but again, a high powered microscope that could really drill down to that level will show you that it's energy, that it's moving. And so are we as human beings. We are energy, we are energy fields. We broadcast or emit a signal, it is a vibration. It is a manifestation of energy. That is all that we are. That is all, everything that is in existence in this material world is strictly energy. And so, when it comes to what I talk about and teach about on this podcast, living a successful life, it is very beneficial to know about vibration. So, you've probably heard of the law of attraction. Just to kind of summarize it in one sentence, it really just means that like attracts like. So, if you think of yourself as an energetic being or energy and you're emitting a signal, whatever signal you're emitting, what's out there in the material world that is also energy is going to be on the same wavelength that you are on. That's just kind of boiling it down in a nutshell. When it comes to manifestation or when it comes to building a successful life, it behooves us to understand that the higher our vibration is, we are on a plane to attract what is good, whether that's wealth, whether that's good health, whether that's better relationships, whether it's just luck, good fortune, great careers. Those things are on a higher plane. They are good, if you will. They are filled with light. Things that are filled with light vibrate higher, and things that are good are filled with light. Conversely, there's also a lower vibrational state, which is where we don't want to be. When you think about things that are low vibrational, they are absent of light. Those are going to be things like violence, destruction, being unkind, misfortune, bad luck. Anything that is bad, we could call it low vibrational. If you want to look at it strictly in terms of energy, you don't even really have to apply a judgment to it. We typically do that as human beings, but this is just science. This is just law. When things don't have light, they are dark. When they are dark, they are lower in vibration, meaning they don't have a lot of light in them. They are lower in energy. And so when we are unkind, violent, unloving, anything negative puts us on a plane with all of that low vibrational stuff. And so when you are emitting a signal that is in lower vibration, you are now on a plane where you have the potential to attract things that are like that. Remember, like is attracting like. So what that could look like is, let's say you get up in the morning and you catch your toe on the dresser and it hurts, and you let out a string of expletives and you're hopping across the floor and you're in pain, and then you go to the kitchen and you pour yourself a cup of coffee, and you accidentally pour the coffee on your hand and you burn yourself, and again, expletives. You have to go to the bathroom and put some cold water on it, and then you look up and then you realize that you're not going to have enough time to get to work. So when you are in a low vibrational state, the potential is there for it to keep attracting more like things. And that's not what you want. You want to keep your vibration high, where all the good stuff is. Okay? Here's the concept of sin. And here's what I believe the original teaching was for, and somewhere it just got a little bit wonky or a little bit twisted. What they were originally trying to tell us and warn us about is this concept here of energy, right? So when you think of the church and the church telling us not to sin, they're telling us don't cuss, don't steal, don't be violent. When someone hits you, turn the other cheek and extend grace to them or show them love. Watch your speech. Don't entertain or speak a lot of negative things over your life. So that concept of sin is really just things that are low in vibration. I mean, when you think about it, it's exactly the same concept. And I think that it just got a little bit off, and that somehow it turned into this thing of, if you commit these acts that are low vibratory in nature, then you're not going to go to heaven. And I think that that is a little bit off, right? I think that what they really intended to teach us was stay away from the lower vibratory things. Even today now, I have to be mindful of things that I can get caught up on television. I can get on Netflix and start going down a path of, I was just watching the Murdaugh trials. Those things are low vibration, and we have to be really careful with that. Now, we're human beings. We're never going to just live a life without dipping down into low vibratory states. I mean, I think it's impossible, and for a much, much broader reason, we don't even want to do that. I mean, we want to have a mix, but it's important that our vibration as a whole is higher. that we are only touching those low vibratory states kind of here and there, kind of every now and then, kind of, oh, I messed up and I forgot. Let me raise my vibration and get back on this higher plane of love and peace and joy and abundance and kindness. Um, we can talk about that on another podcast about why it's important to kind of have both in your mix. I mean, it is the human experience, and we want to have a full life, and a full life is sometimes going to entail things that aren't necessarily high in vibration. And just real quick, we need contrast. We need contrast as a human being. If you never dip down and knew sadness, the joy wouldn't feel good because you would have nothing to compare it to. So that is why, as a human being, we are always going to have a mix. But the thing is to just have the awareness that if you dip down, you don't have to stay there. And that it is in your best interest to move your overall vibratory state to a higher plane. And that simply means just moving through the world in peace, in joy, in love, being kind to people, being benevolent, being willing to turn the other cheek, being willing to extend grace to people, even when they don't deserve it. Those kinds of things keep us in light. And when you are in light, your vibration is high. And when your vibration is high, you are on the path to manifesting good things in your life. And that is what we all want. So, back to my point. The original teachers were trying to tell us stay away from the low vibration, stay away from anger, stay away from lust, stay away from drunkardness. Those are all low vibratory states. And so I personally believe that somehow, if you engage in sin, being equated with going to hell and not going to heaven, which is what the original concept kind of morphed into, I honestly believe that that really was an attempt to explain to us that if your vibration is high, then your life is good and you will experience the peace of God, the things of God, the blessings of God, joy and abundance, in a sense, the kingdom of God, if your vibration is high. And if your vibration is low, then you will experience the opposite. Could be bad luck, could be loss of fortune, loss of job, could be people are always going to be nasty to you or doing bad things to you. It could be ill health. It's just not a life that you want. And so I think that the concept of sin, as it related to heaven and earth, was really this concept of low vibrational actions and states versus high vibrational actions and states, and the benefit to you of staying in a high vibratory state so that you can experience fullness of joy and have a great life and manifest great things and operate in the kingdom of God. And when you didn't do that, when you tied yourself to, I'm going to use the word immorality, that just kind of can trigger so many things in people's minds. I'm just going to use that word just to get my point across. When you tie yourself to immorality and those low vibratory states, your life just isn't going to move or flow as well as it could because you're just simply not in the light. So, there you have it. That's my take on sin. I think that that was the original teaching, and somehow it just got twisted in people's attempt to explain the concept, especially as it related to the people at the time when they didn't have YouTube, when they didn't have science. We've since had Einstein and other scientists come forward and tell us that we are energy. They knew none of that. And so you're trying to explain a very difficult concept to the people with the knowledge that they had at the time. And so it's hard. It's hard to explain that to people. Well, now we know we're energy. There's been all kinds of information in the, years since that time where those original teachers tried to render that concept. We now have the benefit of being able to read the articles and look at the science and go on YouTube and see the studies and have all the teachers out there that are explaining this to everybody. They had none of that. And so I think that's how it just got a little bit off. So I'm going to summarize here by saying you don't want to live a life of sin. But there is no condemnation in that. There is no judgment in that. And there is definitely no you're going to go to hell if you do engage in that. I'm simply here to tell you that you are a vibrational being, and that when you connect yourself to things that are low vibratory in nature, you're just not going to have a great life. And conversely, if you connect yourself to things that are higher in vibratory nature, have a higher vibratory state, moving in righteousness, as the ancient teachers would say to us, as you do that, you're just going to have a much better outcome.